Festival and to a night that we are calling... Yes, needing hardly any introduction. Please welcome our remarkable women.
Welcome to the 12th Annual Queens World Film Festival. I have 3 of these amazing honorees with me.
So tonight is called Remarkable Women, not just because of the curated films that you're going to be seeing, but because of the women that you see on stage here.
So we are about to go see a block of women's films, and I'd love to know more from your lens of being women in this industry, in this space.
And 4 of them are our honorees tonight, and one of them, our 5th, is graciously given up her time to be here to help honor these remarkable women. So I do want to tell you that as an executive director, the festival is just always weeks away. And executive directors are always planting seeds that we won't see until way down the road. And that's what it is for the people who choose to lead or run an organization that presents arts and produces gatherings. Hold on while I awkwardly put down my cane. Thank you. Much better. There we go. And then I'm going to slowly cross the leg. Here we go. So, and as an executive director, I have found that we need champions, and our first guest is definitely a champion, not only for the filmmakers of New York City, but all of the arts. And our first guest is Del Castillo, who is Commissioner of the NYC Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment.
And I have another guest with us today, Del Castillo, who is from the Mayor's Office.
She has more than 25 years of experience in film and television production, and since her appointment in 2019, she has focused on bolstering New York City's very robust and world-class arts, entertainment, and nightlife sectors. And she also led the economic recovery of the city's creative and nightlife industries. And the film industry was making a strong return by 2020, and Broadway had reopened by 2021. Applause, please. So Anne has put into place many initiatives that have been good for everybody, including Music for the Soul and Music Heals, to provide paid gigs for local musicians while also supporting frontline workers at hospitals and vaccine centers. Open Culture, to allow arts organizations to organize ticketed performances in public spaces. The Broadway Vaccination Center to support the entertainment and nightlife workers' safe return, and the Fair Share restaurants to assist nightlife and live venues and bars and restaurants while applying for federal grants. She is really one of our remarkable women, and I would like you to please welcome NYC Film Commissioner Del Castillo.
I'd love you to tell us a little bit about what you do and what you're doing here for the Queens World Film Festival.
Thanks so much. So I'm here on behalf of the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. We support all of the creative sectors of New York, film being quite primary in that respect. And we're here to celebrate the Queens World Film Festival. This festival in particular is really the little engine that could. They're celebrating their 12th year. They weathered the pandemic, but even in the process of weathering the pandemic, they've still managed to honor the community that they're programming in. Last year they honored the frontline workers. This year they're honoring some incredible women who really I had the pleasure of working with to really figure out a plan for how we were going to bring back New York City's creative economy. So it means the world to be here today, to be celebrating this incredible festival with these people.
And that's a beautiful thing, I think, right now, given all that we've gone through in the last 2 years, to be all in present with each other and in community, as you said, is huge. So just very quickly, speaking from the lens of the Mayor's Office and just what you've seen, what does this festival mean in the heart of Queens?
I think this festival, being in Queens, which Queens, we all know, is the crossroads of the world, right? It's one of the most diverse boroughs, and so to have this festival here, which is connecting local filmmakers with filmmakers from all over the globe, and curating content in a way that is thematic, so that you can see how these ideas transcend language, is really what New York City is about.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you for the wonderful introduction, but I think it goes without saying that none of that is possible without all of the people in this room, right? The recovery of New York City's economy is contingent on all of us working together. Yes.
Yes.
congratulate you, Katha and Don, and the entire team at the Queens World Film Festival on 12 amazing years. I was saying earlier that when the Queens World Film Festival was sort of still just getting on its feet and became a nonprofit in 2014, that's when I joined the mayor's office. So I've had a front row seat, literally, to watch the growth of this incredible festival and to see the wonderful work that it did during the pandemic. I mean, running a film festival at all is not an easy task, but trying to run one in the middle of the pandemic, bringing films online to people, and then finding a way back to the theater where we can all be here together is no small feat, and it's not for the faint-hearted. And so I want to thank you for that commitment. I am beside myself with joy to be on the stage with these incredible women in a theater with people. First, I want to, before I get to these incredible women, I just want to congratulate the filmmakers who are in the festival this year. I've worked in this industry for the better part of 25 years, and so I know firsthand what it takes to get a film done, much less on the screen, at a festival, and so I applaud all of you for your commitment to doing that under some of the most difficult times, for sharing your vision and persisting with that vision, both for the local filmmakers and the global filmmakers that the Queens World Film Festival brings together every year. So just a little bit about MOME. I gave you the highlights, but I want to make sure that everyone in this room understands why we exist. We were the first film commission in the country. We're over 50 years strong. But we have since expanded our mandate, which became really apparent through the pandemic that it was necessary for us to commit to all of the creative industries that serve New York, that make New York the incredible city it is. And so we provide support, guidance, connections to city programs and services, advocacy, as we did through the pandemic for state and federal funds, for film, theater, music, advertising, publishing, digital media, video games, nightlife. And I just want to make sure you all know that, so that when you are trying to figure out your way through the city, you know that we are here for you. Not just for the makers, but the promoters, the festivals. These are all of the things that are so important to New York City's vitality, connecting New York City to the to global creative communities. And that's why we're so proud to support the Queens World Film Festival. Not only do you do that, but you also take the time to honor others in the community for their efforts to advance that work, like you are tonight, and like you did last year with the frontline workers, and that's amazing. So I'm not going to keep talking because I know you want to hear from these other women, but I would be remiss if I didn't just give a few words to acknowledge these incredible women: Taryn from Queens Theater, Sade Lythcott from National Black Theater, Lucy Sexton from New Yorkers for Culture and Arts, and Ellen Kodadek from Flushing Town Hall. I have had the distinct privilege and pleasure of working with each of these incredible women who, before the pandemic, were doing amazing things, bringing community together, celebrating the arts, inviting audiences, connecting diverse audiences to some of the most incredible arts and entertainment you could see. But during the pandemic is when we really came together. And so to be sitting with you here, I'm going to get emotional. I don't know why. But I just, these were the women that stepped up and said, we need to work with you to figure out how to bring back New York City, how to bring back creativity, how to support our creatives during the pandemic, how to keep people connected to the arts and entertainment during the pandemic. And every single one of you has done that in a different way. And I'm so happy that we're honoring you today. And I just want to thank you publicly for everything that you do. You are a gift to New York City. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we are here in the glorious cathedral, which is known as the Queen's Theater. And I cannot think of a better place to really talk about the four women that you see in front of you. They're cultural leaders because in our eyes, they are all important strands in the fabric of arts and culture in New York City, and therefore the world. Now, the short version of their accomplishments is that Taryn Sacramone is responsible for initiating the revolutionary Culture at 3 daily calls that brought cultural institutions of all sizes and stature together to pool their knowledge and resources to meet the totally unknowable consequences of the shutdown. She was quickly joined by Sexton and Sade Lythcott as the co-leaders, and these thrice weekly calls continue to this very day. There was one today.
We are here with 3 amazing ladies, Lucy, Taryn, and Sade, who are honorees of the Queen's World Film Festival, and they are sharing stories of connection and really truly the power of women coming together to effectively create this culture of how to embrace and create community through film and art. And you did this all during the COVID, during the pandemic, when there was such a distance in communities and individuals and relationships, taking that power of being women and created this space and this opportunity to continue to lead in your arts and in your work. So we really appreciate that.
And Ellen Kodadek, right here to my right, she launched the Healing and Welcoming Artists Call at 5 that helps bring diverse solo artists together for conversation and sometimes salvation. And those calls also continue to this day. I did get your email and this week's prompt is drip. Correct? You weren't referring to me at all, were you? Okay, good. I'm very happy. So all 4 of them shattered the notions of every man for himself, of gatekeepers, and instead created a climate for collaboration across institutions, agencies, and disciplines. Let me tell you about Ellen. Ellen is the executive director and artistic director of Flushing Town Hall. Let me say that again. The artistic director and the artistic director of a major institution. For Ellen, season runs all day, every day, all year long. And if you take a look at that website, you can hear and feel the robust and diverse and globally relevant programming of Flushing Town Hall literally jump off the page. And case in point, Flushing Town Hall is hosting 2 of our screenings this year at this year's festival. Tomorrow night, Hideout, which is a dirty, sexy, coke-fueled street drama from Taiwan. And yes, and then the next night is Voices of India. There are 2 films, Buddha's Wife and the feature film Molly, both films asking us to consider acceptance, balance, and forgiveness. And we have one of those filmmakers here tonight. Neha, where are you? She is probably doing something very important in the lobby for us, an incredible human being. Now, at the onset of the pandemic, Ellen established a weekly Friday evening call that brought art makers together to help offset the incredible isolation many of us felt. And since then, gallery exhibits, screenings, and performances and readings and more all happened because she brought us together and would not let us talk about our jobs or our politics. So let's have a few words from Ellen.
Thank you so much. I don't really know what to say other than that. But one thing I do want to say is I am incredibly awed by all the other women here on stage, but I am now even more awed than I was before because Lucy Sexton can whistle with 2 fingers. Something I have been attempting to do my entire life. So I am even more in awe of you than I was before. That's really great. Yeah, I just spent the last 2.5 days taking care of a 6-week-old puppy, working remotely and being with puppy duty, taking care of my son's family's new little puppy. And I was reflecting on the way back home, as I often do when I'm by myself in a car, about my fellow honorees and thinking that they are all like puppies. They are smart and adorable and adored and tenacious, and when they get an idea in their heads, they are all doggedly, get that? That was good, right? They are all doggedly persistent to make things happen. So I am humbled by being up here with all of you, truly, truly, and of course, Katha and Don. So Fridays at 5 was begun the end of March 2020, and as Katha mentioned, we've had these artist Zoom calls every single Friday since then. Every Friday, we had a break, and we started out talking about the things that we were afraid of and terrified of, and what is this thing called a pandemic, and what does that even mean, and how do we keep building community ongoingly? Because it is an ongoing kind of commitment to keep bringing people together, even in the face of hardship, even when it's miserable, even when you're in the middle of craziness and something that's completely misunderstood or not understood at all. Like, how do you do that? And I just really applaud the artists who started out as Queens-based artists, and now we're all across the country. Last week we had a brand new artist who called in from Ontario, Canada, which is really cool. But they showed up every single week to be with one another and to support one another and to be in conversation and in community. So I just really want to thank everyone. Part of the best part of all of that for me was the opportunity to meet some people that I had not met before, and in some cases, artists I will probably never meet because they live in Santa Fe or Austin or Sedona, Arizona, or York, Maine, but a special pleasure for me was really having the opportunity to get to know Katha. We had kind of been like ships in the night, as executive directors and cultural leaders always are. You're always missing someone else's event because you're in the middle of your own. So we had known one another, but now we know one another. And it is just a massive treat and an honor. So, yeah, so friends forever. BFFs. Maybe. Oh, she says maybe. Okay. I'll let you all know how it goes. Anyway, thank you again so very, very much for this honor.
Thank you. So our next group, the three of them are going to be introduced together, and then they're going to speak one at a time. But let's talk about Lucy Sexton, the Executive Director of New Yorkers for Culture and Arts. She holds us all accountable without stepping on toes or ruffling feathers, reminding us that listening is essential. And at times, she literally leads us in the dance called Moving Forward. Lucy was thinking of everyone when she helped motivate the New York Arts Committee and the city's leadership to envision 1% of the budget as a standing commitment to the arts. And while that number was not achieved yet, her complete and utter devotion to raising not the bar, but the platform for all of us to reach higher is worth the missing millions.
I'm thrilled that they are honoring us, but also featuring and lifting up women filmmakers. It is an industry that is still desperately lacking in female voices, in female-identified voices, and woman-identified voices. And this is what the world needs to hear, so I'm glad, and I would give all of the encouragement that I could to women and female-identified filmmakers, because we need those visions right now. We are being honored because we lead a call, and one of the ways that we lead, and it is about leading, is about being women and bringing all the things that, for many years, as one of the elders of this group, we were told, you put that to the side. You put being a mom to the side. You put being a female to the side. You put being vulnerable to the side so that you can come in and lead. And actually, what we need and always needed was for those things to be brought forward.
Next, we have Sade Lythcott, Chief Executive Officer of the National Black Theater and Chair of the Coalition of Theaters of Color. She leads and advocates from the heart. Yes, let's have some She leads and advocates from a heart that takes representation to an incredible, loving level. There's no judgment there. Only truth, gently, repeatedly, thoughtfully nudged into our consciousness as a gift to our development. And her mission-driven practice is focused on sustaining and elevating artists of color, and also serving organizations led by and serving people of color. I don't know her nearly as well as the other honorees, but when I am in her presence, I feel seen. And when I speak to her, I know that she is truly listening, and not with the passive ear of a networker, but with the engaged ear of a fellow traveler. Yes.
Well, we're sitting in the vision of such an incredible woman who is one of the co-founders of the Queens World Film Festival in Kathakeda. I run the National Black Theater, which is one of the oldest continually run black theaters in New York City, founded by my mom, and now led by me in the village of Harlem. And when you look at Harlem and its thriving cultural sector, so many of our organizations that Harlem is known for is run by women. So when you look at the call and you look at our leadership, there's something happening. The way that women, self-identified women, femmes, really looking at a kind of feminine principle of how to build community, right? It's not about hierarchy. It's not about a linear way forward, but it's this arms that are wide open, that embrace each other and see each other where they are and make space. And so I think that tonight is a celebration of making space for new voices, for reflections of these women portraits that we will see in these films. And in the honorees tonight, all of us really represent what is possible when we create space at the table for other folks and understand that the ecosystem is really kind of leans into a divine feminine principle, which is what we practice every day on the calls at Culture at 3.
So beautiful. I love the way you're painting this picture.
Taryn Sacramone is the chair of the Cultural Institutions Group and executive director of Queens Theater, where we are today. She has ushered in an era at the theater that is innovative, inclusive, imaginative, exuberant, where she opens the curtains, the doors, the ramps, windows, and removes any barrier to make sure that everyone can reach the stage and find their voice, and a place where truly theater is for all. She is the recognized initiator of Culture of 3, and her vision of a cultural community has provided and held space for hundreds of us to survive not having the answers, because she knew someone else on that call will. Taryn's belief and interest and delight in the accomplishments of others is genuine, and it is infectious. In Taryn's world, truly, everything is possible.
Vulnerability is the pathway that's unavoidable if you're actually going to get somewhere.
My name is Lucy Sexton. I lead a cultural advocacy coalition called New Yorkers for Culture and Arts. I am part of a trio of women that lead a call called Culture at 3, and one of the leaders of Queens World Film Festival comes to that call, and that is how we know each other, and the community and the power that Katha saw there, I think, is why she's chosen us as honorees, and I'm really, really honored and delighted to be here.
And I'm Taryn Sacramone. I'm the executive director of Queens Theater, where we are right now, and the chair of the Cultural Institutions Group, and one of the co-leaders of Culture at 3, along with these two women.
Hi, my name is Sade Lythcott. I'm the CEO of the National Black Theater, chair of Coalitions of Theaters of Color, and a co-leader with my sisters here on the call Culture at 3.
Let's hear from Lucy Sexton.
Katha, you are a fucking genius.
Hey!
For real. That is really one of the blessings of the day. Thank you for all you do. I will only say that as an art maker in New York for my whole life, which is long, it's a lonely enterprise, and none lonelier often than filmmaking. Right? You are in your silo, you are in your cave, making your work, yes, with your team, and often in a culture of scarcity. We don't have enough money for this, we don't have enough money for that, how are we going to do this, how are we going to afford that? One of the great things about the pandemic, and there are great things about the pandemic, as shitty and fucked up as it is that it opened up the world and said, actually, we need each other. Actually, we need to be together. Actually, we need to talk to each other. And that's what you did with your call. That's what Taryn started with this call. And it's one of the things that I really hope that we can make a transformative moment. Not something we did during the pandemic, but something that actually changed our field, so that none of us as artists, as cultural leaders, feel so alone and feel like we don't have enough and we don't have anyone else with us. We have enough, we are with each other. We, especially now in this time, need to hold each other and hold on to each other, and if we do that, we will survive.
What has that been like to get to this place where you stand so firmly and so grounded in this sisterhood and this understanding of your power as women? Because I think so many women don't see those things in themselves.
I would just say that I think that a lot of those things that we experience as women, we have been told for a long time are to be hidden, to be put aside when you go to work, are not about leadership, right? Being a mom, being compassionate, being open-hearted, those are being vulnerable, those have been put to the side as if, oh, well, that's what you put away in order to be a leader or to come to the space. And I really hope to be a dreamer at the moment, but that this is a time of transition when we realize that we need these things to lead us, not only, as you say, because they're the right thing, but because they're effective. They can actually make our culture move forward in effective and powerful ways and stop us, competing with one another and treating each other as, the enemy, when actually what we need is to come together and to realize that we are more powerful together. So I hope that we are owning our feminine qualities as qualities of leadership and something to be proud of, not something to be hidden. I'm older than these ladies, and so I experienced that, definitely. Like, this is what you put to the side in order to come to the board table or whatever it is. So
how has that been, putting that to the side? Does it feel like a sacrifice at times? Does it
feel like liberation?
Thank you, Katha, for doing it before the pandemic and through the pandemic and after the pandemic, creating community every time you open your mouth. You're amazing. The Queens World Film Festival is amazing. Congratulations to all the filmmakers tonight, and I'm really honored to be part of it. And being part of this call with these two women is absolutely the gift of my life. So here is Sade.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to be short because we understand one universal truth, which is this evening is about you, not about us. So it's such an honor. Thank you, Katha. Thank you, Dawn, for creating this incredible film festival, but really an extension of community. Can't clap it up enough for Katha and Rob. I'm going to use a couple words that we hardly ever hear these days, and maybe there's pushback, but there won't be pushback on the stage. A part of how we got here on the stage is the call that Taryn created was not just a safe, and as I would say, sacred space for art organizations and leaders in the creative space, but it was a safe and sacred space for, here's the word that you won't hear very much in the world, but for friends in government. And every day on our call, we were joined by friends in government, not to dictate policy, not to tell us how scarce the world was and how we needed to clinch to every resource we had, but active listeners like Anne, who was really on the front line of everything. What happened in the last 2.5 years, as Lucy has alluded to, we know all the fucked up things, but what also happened was women, leaders in particular, self-identified femmes, but that feminine energy led the charge that is and will save this city. Some of us are on this stage, but many of us are in the audience. Many of us are still doing that work and are visioning the work that is still to do. So I just really want to thank you, Anne, because it would not have been possible if folks like you were not busy, like kicking the door down of bureaucracy to get shit done. Yeah. And if you want to get shit done, give it to a woman, right? I also just want to shout out some folks in the audience, Sheila, Jack, and DJ, who are, we say that Culture at 3 is a space for leaders, and everyone is leaderful, and you three have been leaderful in your wisdom, in your presence, in all that you have given on the call. So I just want to shout y'all out because none of us could do it without the three of you. And Jack holds a special place because he's bridging friend in government to now colleague in the fight of being anti-cultural. The last thing I will just say is, I'm going to echo what Lucy said. The most powerful thing in the world is the ability to tell stories. And that's what you do. It's why you're the most important people in this room. storytelling, and don't let anybody tell you anything else about your craft. What you do changes and shapes culture. The ability to tell stories is the ability to reach beyond yourself into the space that didn't exist before you told your story, to give us unique perspectives on our own humanity. It is stories that shape how we change people's hearts and minds. It is the courage of being in that echo chamber where you don't know if your story matters, but if it matters and came from you, it will connect with someone else. And at the end of the day, the pandemic did not show us anything, is that we're all connected. So you are superheroes. You are these folks that are able to translate what's in our heads and hearts and give us a vehicle by which to see ourselves more clearly. So thank you for your courage. I can't imagine what the stories are that we're going to see tonight, but I am so excited. I'm excited for the city of New York. I'm excited for you. And if there's anything to impart, it's to hold on to each other. Culture never closed. We are a community that is woven together by each and every one of us, led by your ability to tell stories and to hold each other accountable to those stories that we tell in our shows. So thank you very much.
The thing that women do uniquely is create and hold space. We are, whether we choose to have children or not, the ability to create is inherent in our DNA. And so having the ability to not only lead from a space of having the answers or having access to power, it's really about creating more spaces to be powerful and leaderful, because it exists in all of us, but it takes a leader to have effective action that allows everybody's superpower to show up, which is sometimes the question and is sometimes the answer.
I can't tell you how many hours I have clocked with these women that you would think I would not be ever starstruck by them, and yet the feeling continues. So I'm just sitting here trying not to get too emotional or have a heart attack. I am not new to the Catholic Party. I have long been on a Catholic train. She is such an extraordinary leader, and seeing how the festival has developed, it has just been an incredible thing, especially here in Queens, to see how relevant and impactful and powerful it is. I have no reason to take any pride in it, except I do. That's ours, and look how good it is, and look how it's growing. I absolutely love it. Culture at 3 is something that wasn't really designed. It revealed itself. It was this community that started just prior to the pandemic with only the 34 members of the CIG, and we were wondering how we were going to navigate the pandemic, assuming that our doors would be open, right? Like, where are you getting your hand sanitizer? What does your lobby signage look like? Do you have your June projections for visitorship, right? That was like Tuesday, March 12th, or 10th. Screen at the King's Theater, right? This was like the end goal of all of that energy. This was the end goal of all of that work. And then, our commissioner at the time, for a good swath of it, Gonzalo Casals, would always talk about this collective leadership that emerged during the pandemic. And Gonzalo and Anne worked very closely together. I mean, it was just really beautiful and effective to see. And it doesn't surprise me when you talked about sort of the mission expanded, but I think you would probably agree with me when I say you were probably just recognizing a truth more than you were changing something. You were just saying this is all interconnected and it has to be this way. So in Culture at 3, she called it a democratic space, she being Sade. I should be on this stage, I'll be specific. Sade said, this is a democratic space by which anybody can unmute, ask questions, contribute. And so it became this beautiful thing of, in a democratic space, who are the voices that emerge, who are the leaders that emerge? And anybody will say, women, leaders of color, people from organizations of all scales and backgrounds, stepped forward to the front line. So when you create spaces like that, who steps forward? Who is in the spotlight that you're seeing? And I think about this festival. When you open a festival and you say to the whole wide world, who has a story to tell? Whose stories emerge? Whose stories are you going to hear? And that is why I'm so proud for the sort of alignment of values and spirit with this group, with this festival, and finally to be honored by people I love, with people I love, in front of people I love, in my house where I've been executive director for 9 years, for doing something I love, for a community I love. I will take this as a Lifetime Achievement Award and announce my retirement tonight.
Don't retire, don't retire, don't retire.
Great. I don't need anything else. I don't need one more thing. This is too much.
Is there a job posting?
This is all.
I think it is very exciting to have new emerging voices. The words that were coming into my head were actually Sade's when we had a conversation a long time ago and realized, at our best, right, in these leaderful communities with a lot of voices in the mix, the voices that kind of rise to the top are joyful and courageous. And those are two words that are coming through. They're her words, but they're coming through my head right now in terms of my hopes for young female filmmakers. I hope that they are joyful and courageous because they're doing a difficult thing, but that they can be connected to this larger picture that Lucy is saying about sort of changing the world just by being true to themselves and being vulnerable and being willing to share.
That is beautiful. No, that is beautiful, and thank you. And I heard the word vulnerability and leadership come up so many times. When you think about those aspects, just for yourselves in the work that you do in this industry, how have you been able to embrace your vulnerability in this space? And what is it that you see yourself as when you think about yourselves as leaders?
So I truly believe that vulnerability is a superpower. And I think that because it is the most authentic space we can come from. And it is the space by which we meet each other in our truest form. It is the vehicle that allows us to be human, and it is the vehicle that allows us to connect. Artists are the most powerful when they get to share their stories from a space of vulnerability. And we can learn a lot from these brave and courageous filmmakers because it is that secret sauce that creates the conditions for all of us to actually see ourselves as leaders, because we all have the capability of being vulnerable. And nothing is more powerful than the truth of who we are. And so to be able to share that from a space of a superpower as opposed to a deficit or something that we leave off of the table changes the game and allows folks who never thought that they would be in this place, never thought that they would share air with some of their, heroes. It allows us all to say, we all started from the same space, which was from a woman, and we all can create and hold space similarly. But it has to be modeled for folks to understand not only is it a powerful space, but as we were saying early, it's an effective space. Because when we connect to each other's hearts and minds, we truly can change and transform whatever it is, whatever industry, whatever sector we are in. And therefore, that is a part of how we lead, is bringing that incredible amount of many things, but vulnerability being a key power to the table.
It's beautiful.
And when people lean into vulnerability, they give permission to others, right? And then to do the same. And then even when an authentic place is uncomfortable, there's a comfort in authenticity, right? So even when the truth isn't always the most comfortable one. Your body kind of settles in when you realize you're having an authentic exchange. And I think that when people admit that they don't have the answers, or they have a question, or they're wrestling with something, or that they made a mistake, I think that then you can get somewhere, right? But
thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And you know that I've been very, very busy, so I wasn't able to get you anything to commemorate the evening. So I made you something instead. Can you please stand? So this is a limited version of some artwork that I've been working on, and I call it Hammered. It is been hammered and wired together, and the keys represent the loosening up of the doors and the gates and making it completely open to everyone. And it's a lot like leadership. You know, you put everything in place, and in the end you could maybe get hurt. So, but within all of it, there are gems and jewels which we consider you to be our remarkable women for this evening. And so I also want you to look at the women who are presenting something to you. These are our future cultural leaders of New York as well. And I want you to look into the eyes of the cultural leaders and know what they have done. There's a direct line between what these people did and how we are in this room tonight.
I think that the idea of leadership as being somebody who has the answers, right, and is just has the answers, and now they are sharing the answers, and people need to do that. I don't think that's actually served anybody well, right? And so I think when you define leadership as service, you can locate your confidence in that, right? Do I have all of the answers? No one does. The answer's no, right? But am I willing to be of service? Am I willing to try
and grow and learn,
and
right?
grow and learn and show my vulnerability?
Yes.
You can and can I, in my heart, say that's leadership? I think that's the key. It's beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Let's give it a go.
Thank you.
Thank
I really
you so
appreciate
much.
your
It was really nice speaking
time.
with you.
It was
Wonderful.
lovely to talk to you. Thank
Congratulations
you so much.
to
And I love
Katha and
everything
everyone
that
who put together the festival.
We're going to do some pictures, and I'm going to bring Mr. Cato up to be on the end of us, and we're going to do some pictures very quickly, and then I promise we are going to see the films, which, by the way, I do want to correct, they're not all by women filmmakers, but they are women's stories and powerful, and we welcome the males who are also in this group tonight, Mark, so we recognize you as well.
So she didn't have time, so she made 4 glorious pieces of art. Okay. But you not have time more often, Katha. These are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You were kind of pretty amazing as well. I'm going to take these microphones, and we're going to pose for a picture very quick. Everybody get the cameras up. Everybody.
In the darkened cave around the flickering lights to share our stories. We've upgraded the cave. The flickering light is now zeros and ones, but the impulse to gather remains, and it is in that gathering that we understand and learn that they is us, them is we, and I am just another you.